Returning to a crime scene can be incredibly impactful. It can be incredibly traumatic if you were the one who was the victim at that scene. But if you're on the jury and you see where the crimes took place that you've been being told about and painting the picture of, it's something very different than just images or video. We saw it in the Alex Murdaugh trial. Many jurors talking about being at that dog kennel and really getting a better understanding of the accusations against Alex Murdaugh and just how real they actually were and just how real that situation actually was. Joining me to discuss this, Shavaun Scott, psychotherapist and author. We're talking about it in the case of Bryan Kohberger right now in the house on King Road. Just this last week, we saw the FBI going in, unboarding the house. And from what we can understand, I think the best way of describing it is kind of doing the real estate tour, if you will. And I'm not trying to be funny, but I think that's kind of what was going on from what I understand. They go in, they get the scan of the house so you can get a 3D image of it and then try and portray that to the jurors should it be needed in the upcoming trial. All well and good, but let's talk about the differences between just images or a 3D image and actually visiting a crime scene and the impact that it has on a jury. Siobhan, what's your thoughts on that?
Anything where you can make the jury experience what it must have been like to be in that house at that time will have an emotional impact on them and will make it more real. My guess is it will also help them understand what the prosecution's story is about what he did, because we know when a case gets to the trial, that's going to be what happens. The prosecutor is going to be saying, this is what happened. He entered here, he went from that room to that room to that room. And this was all done in a short period of time. People have been saying, but could he have committed all these murders in that, few minutes that he had, according to the story, the narrative that we have now. And so I think it makes it more real for the jury. And in that way, it's a real asset, I would think, to the prosecution to be able to walk people through that process.
Which is interesting because the prosecution in this case, along with the defense, both have said, we don't care if the house is there or not. You can knock it down whenever you want. Why do you think that is? Why would the prosecution not want that house standing? Could there be some confusion just with the structure of it? And I guess just how extreme this crime was, it may be difficult to believe that one person could go in and carry this out in like the time window that actually it happened within.
Yeah, we would think that if they saw it advantageous to their case, they would want to keep the house. But again, it's really hard to know. We're just speculating. And, so much of the community wants the house gone. And many of the university students who are adjacent to this house want the house gone. And so I think there's a strong sense in the community of just please eliminate this huge, ugly trigger for trauma that we're all feeling. And so it's hard to know how much that plays in it too.
But where should the answer be in something like that? I totally understand the trauma of seeing that thing every single day, especially those are your friends. They know they were murdered right there, and there's this big old house that
Yeah.
is just a constant reminder. Not healthy, not good.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about getting justice here, though, and
Yeah.
either convicting or not convicting Bryan Kohberger, what's more important? What should weigh out in that sort of a battle?
Yeah, if I were voting, I'd say leave the house until after the trial, because as you say, justice for Kohberger and justice for the victims, that's got to be the first priority. And if there's any advantage to leaving the house up or walking the jury through it or whatever, that option needs to be there.
We did see something interesting last week in the Kohberger trial, or not, the hearing that took place. Kohberger looking a bit more confident than he used to. It seems we saw some interesting handwork. I've been doing this every interview I've talked about, and I keep hitting my mic every time I do it. But it's this steepling of the hands. Maybe I need to do it more wide. There we go. Little more room to do that. But that's a sign of confidence, is it not?
Hmm.
And something that we have not seen in the past. Do you think
Hmm.
Kohberger is feeling a little more confident right now? And if so, why?
If Kohberger is guilty. This is a man who lives in his own little world and perceives things very differently than most of us would. I think most of us would relate to being terrified
Mhm.
right now. But serial killers are different. And we think back to Ted Bundy and getting up and defending himself at one point in court, which seems really bizarre. And he was actually questioning women on the stand that were his victims,
Mhm.
and so these guys, they tend to be overconfident
Mhm.
and they tend to be narcissistic and very full of themselves. So is it possible he really enjoys the attention at this point? Is he confident that he's going to beat this? Is getting the love letters, as we've discussed before, from the fan club out there,
Mhm.
is that boosting his mood? It could be that he's actually on some very dark, perverse level enjoying all this.
That's the scary thing, and that's what I think a lot of us have been wondering from day one. Did
Yeah.
he did he go and actively get the ticket for this ride, knowing he was gonna
Mhm.
go down this ride, and is in some dark, perverse way, actually enjoying it? If you're an attorney trying to advise your client on optics, in a courtroom like this, and obviously, yes, you're talking about someone, if in fact he is, the killer, someone who thinks very differently, than
Mhm.
the rest of us. What's more advantageous for the case? Having that individual or trying to get that individual to see reality for what it is on reality's terms, and to understand just how bad this is looking for you right now, just how dark and scary and the evidence that's piling up against you really is? Or is it better to kind of, coach him up, have a little pep rally, if you will, make him feel like things are going in a really good direction, if in fact that they're not really capable of seeing reality on reality's terms?
I would think, and again, this is just my speculating because I'm not an attorney. I
Sure.
would think you would be coaching the person for a neutral presentation.
Hmm.
You don't necessarily want them looking out of control in any way. You don't need them looking depressed and forlorn, but looking overconfident is not a good optic either. And so, have they coached him to steeple the hands like that? I mean, that's possible that they think that that's going to,
Yeah.
make it look like, oh, he's sure he's going to get off and that benefits him. Hard to know,
Yeah.
but I would think neutrality would be the thing that would serve him best, but he may not be very good at that.
Yeah. Or very good at listening to advice of counsel
Yeah.
either. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Tony Bruschi. If you want more of our interview with our guests, be sure to check out our podcast, Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. Just search that wherever you download podcasts and press subscribe. Also, you can check out our YouTube channel for the full video version of the interviews as well, under the same name, Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. Check it out, subscribe, binge, and enjoy. Thanks for watching.